And I will be giving a recommendation report on Nintendo based on their corporate social responsibility program. As a summary of what I'll be talking about today, we will be talking about first an introduction to Nintendo, then we'll address the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that are facing Nintendo. And then I will conclude with a recommendation based on that previous analysis. We will then conclude. An introduction to Nintendo. Nintendo has had many years to be able to adapt to be on the cutting edge of technology. A lot of the reason for this is because they are the oldest video game company in existence today. They also know the market very well, and their experimental technology comes with a burden that they know, which is how they impact the environment and society as a whole. Because of this, since 2015, Nintendo has created a corporate social responsibility report. As part of Nintendo's strengths is just that. They have been able to actively participate in ongoing programs to try to reduce their impact on the environment and understand their role in society as a company that manufactures disposable electronics. Another great strength of Nintendo is their mascots. Not only are they incredibly family-friendly, they're also able to branch generations. And for a time, Mario was more well-known than Mickey Mouse in the American household. Some of the weaknesses that Nintendo has, however, is some issues with ethical supply chains. There was a report about cobalt mining in the Congo. Nintendo needs to become more aware of the influence that they have in cobalt mining and how their products directly are responsible for many of the political upheavals and even child slavery problems that exist in other countries that are providing supplies to Nintendo. Another weakness that Nintendo has is a reliance on first-party titles. Many other companies have been able to adapt and incorporate third-party publishers within their own development in exclusivity. However, Nintendo really focuses on using their tried and true mascots, which make their mascots a little tired and rehashed. For example, this is Link and Mario in their debut titles in 1980. Now, if we look to today's titles for the Nintendo Switch, we have Link and Mario again. These are the debut titles for the Nintendo Switch. Even their third-party fighting game, Super Smash Bros., has forefront Link and Mario. In contrast, Sony has 3 different games that have been very popular and able to push Sony's PlayStation 4 further than any of their previous consoles, in large part due to the fact that Guerrilla, Naughty Dog, and Santa Monica Studios are not actually part of the Sony in-house development team. However, these are exclusive to the Sony PlayStation. Another issue that Nintendo suffers with is dated marketing. Nintendo seems to have a struggle realizing that because fans of the games that they played when they were children have grown up with Nintendo, that those same people still wish to participate in gaming with Nintendo. In this ESA report, we find that 38% of gamers today are from the ages of 18 to 34. Now, Nintendo primarily targets itself towards children, but less and less children are making up this slice of the pie. Now, that leads us into opportunities. One of the greatest opportunities that Nintendo has today is operating in the new digital sales era. Nintendo Store direct sales can go directly to consumers. Now, this will protect the environment by reducing the amount of physical media that Nintendo has to manufacture. Another great thing is it also means that Nintendo doesn't have to be sharing profits with brick and mortar stores. Next, we'll talk about how Nintendo has the ability to create a strong third-party publisher. This is a fantastic opportunity. If Nintendo shares its developer tools with other companies, they can share the same amount of success that Sony has had in this previous generation of consoles. Another thing is that Nintendo has kind of lost the opportunity on, but still has the ability to reach, is attracting non-gamers. Most of the fans of the Wii was an amazing marketing campaign towards non-gamers. Older people, people that didn't generally play video games all the time, were very attracted to the technology of the Wii. All that technology is still in the Nintendo Switch, and being able to access that market again is a great opportunity for Nintendo. Now, Nintendo games are also perfect for the mobile market. While Nintendo has been shy about entering the mobile market, Nintendo games aren't particularly demanding, and they might not require a very strong console to just be able to play in the palm of your hand. We'll get more to that later. Here are some threats that Nintendo is faced with. One of the biggest threats that Nintendo is facing with is exactly that, which was mobile. Handheld sales were on the decline. In this report in 2019, you can see that the 3DS underperformed the Nintendo DS by around 100 million units sold. This is very troublesome for Nintendo, because while they have been able to find a niche for their hybrid console now, there could be some potential issues in the future. Another threat is that cheap VR is already here. Sony has been able to release their PlayStation VR. Nintendo's consoles aren't strong enough to compete within that field. And Nintendo doesn't really like to see themselves as competitors of Sony and Microsoft, the other big names in gaming. The issue with that, though, is because handheld sales are declining, Nintendo must adapt and put itself either back into the mainstream console market or the mobile market, where most handheld games have gone. Now, Sony's already capitalized on VR and cheap console gaming in everybody's living room. So here are some recommendations. Before I get into these, I want to read a quote from Satoru Iwata, who was the previous CEO of Nintendo before he passed away in 2015. He said, "If we continue down the same path as we have in the past, people may become tired of gaming." Now, he was speaking this quote in response to some resistance to entering the mobile market. So here are my recommendations. What if instead of trying to be in every living room, we were in everyone's pocket? Mobile merges all entertainment. More and more can be done on cell phones each year, including almost professional level photography abilities. Now, moving into the mobile market, it's instantly recognizable. These mascots can be with you at all times. It's less e-waste because you're not producing consoles and cartridges. And it's direct to consumer. And it will even attract people who are non-gamers again, because everybody uses smart devices and phones. One of the big points here for my recommendation is that we can invigorate generational gamers. If Nintendo releases its old games that are based through nostalgia, you could release them onto the mobile market with very little development and no cost to the supply chain. This would reduce electronic waste, and it would help generational gamers transition from longtime fans into new intellectual property. Another idea is the Switch Pro, something that would have stronger hardware, a digital-only version that would be cheaper, and a traditional version that would still be able to take cartridges. The lower MSRP could be compensated with by having the direct digital store cut out all of the brick-and-mortar stores that sell physical media. In conclusion, I think Nintendo has all the pieces in place to create a very strong digital and mobile-focused company. I think it is one of the biggest and most competitive, and if they put their foot into the mobile market, that they would be able to be competitive there. Now, Nintendo can again take the forefront of all gaming if they are willing to take the risks of entering into mobile, and they'll be able to adequately complete everything that they need to on their corporate social responsibility. Thank you so much for your time.